45, Bob Gibson. He struck him out swinging.
I can honestly say he is the most competitive pitcher I ever met.
Gibson has had 5 shutouts in a row, but he's allowed only 1 run in his last 65 innings.
I love the fire in his eyes. You could see it even in old television.
And he could end it all now. He got it! Struck him out!
We didn't think anybody could beat Bob Gibson.
Bob Gibson being congratulated as he wins another big one.
He was the essential major league competitor.
Tim McCarver once said, Bob Gibson was the kind of player that teammates didn't just respect, they revered. It would have been difficult for them not to. Gibson was a 2-time Cy Young Award winner, an MVP, and his 1.12 ERA in 1968 and 17 strikeouts in a World Series game are 2 of baseball's immortal numbers.
One of the things that helped me a lot was all of these stories that they would tell each other about me.
Well, you don't want to know what it was like to face Bob Gibson.
He was one of the toughest pitchers I ever faced.
He was so mean, you know, he was nasty.
And I tell you what, this is one thing I didn't tell a lot of people, but my wife used to go to the restroom when I faced Gibby. Because you don't want to see it, I guess.
Bob Gibson would throw the ball under your chin, throw it around you, and then a lot of pitchers, if you woof at him a little bit, you know, he'd back off. And that Gibson, he'd take a step forward and say, come on.
You know, I was just out there doing what I know how to do, and that's pretty much as simple as it gets.
There are a lot of guys that want to win, okay, in life. They want to be winners. That wasn't the case with Gibson. Gibson despised losing, and I think it came from his living norms as a child, you know. He was sickly. He had all kinds of childhood diseases. I think that really set the precedent for him. And when he went to the mound, you weren't going to beat him.
Pack Robert Gibson was born November 9, 1935 in Omaha, Nebraska. The youngest of 7 children, Gibson overcame bouts of asthma and rickets throughout childhood to excel at sports. And when Jackie Robinson broke baseball's color barrier in 1947, an 11-year-old Bob Gibson decided he too would be a pro ball player, in which sport remained to be seen.
There's not one thing that Gibson couldn't do physically, okay? He could have been a great quarterback, he could have been a great wide receiver, he could have been a great defensive back, he could have been a great prize fighter. There wasn't anything that Bob Gibson couldn't do. He was just a phenomenal athlete, period.
That athleticism earned him a full scholarship to Creighton University. And following graduation in 1957, Gibson signed a pair of $4,000 contracts, one with the St. Louis Cardinals, the other with the Harlem Globetrotters. The stoic Gibson played 1 winter with the fun-loving Trotters, but when Cards GM Bing Devine offered him an additional $4,000 in 1958 to drop basketball and focus on baseball, Gibson left the hardwood behind and set his sights on major league batters.
There's a breaking ball, and it is a
Gibson made his first All-Star team in 1962, went 18-9 in 1963, and was the Cardinals' ace in 1964, as St. Louis captured its first pennant in 18 years.
The Cardinals won the pennant! The Cardinals won the pennant! The Cardinals won the pennant! Everybody out! Everybody congratulating everybody!
Bob Gibson was about to get his first taste of the Fall Classic and would be matched against the Yankees' Mel Stottlemyre for games 2, 5, and 7.
You know, at that time, I despised Bob Gibson. You know, I mean, he was so strong, so tough.
Gibson and Stottlemyre split their first 2 starts, and with the series tied and each pitching staff depleted, both received the ball again to start Game 7.
So I was called upon to pitch the 7th game, and Bob Gibson also pitched the 7th game, and I got to admit, he was definitely by far the strongest of the 2 of us.
Pitching on 2 days' rest, Gibson struck out 9 while throwing his second complete game of the series. His Herculean effort of 27 innings pitched with 31 strikeouts earned him World Series MVP honors, and the Cardinals their first World Series title in nearly 2 decades.
The Cardinals win it, and this ballpark, complete bedlam.
After consecutive All-Star seasons in 1965 and 66, Gibson was sidelined midway through the 1967 campaign after a Roberto Clemente line drive fractured his left leg. Gibson would rebound quickly, however, and after missing just under 8 weeks, returned to pitch the Cardinals to 3 World Series victories over the Red Sox, including another virtuoso performance in a Game 7 when Sox manager Dick Williams added fuel to a fire where none was needed.
He said, "Who's your starting pitcher?" He said, "It's Longberg and then Champagne." When we saw that, there was no way in heck that we were going to let Longberg beat us.
We were up for that game. Everybody was up for that game. They just weren't going to beat me that day. That's all it's to it.
The Cardinals win. They're the new world champions. And Bob Gibson, with his 3rd victory, has brought them through in the decisive 7th game.
Congratulations and welcome back to St. Louis.
Thank you. It's good to be back. There's no greater feeling than the feeling that I have today.
The following year was 1968, and in a so-called year of the pitcher, no pitcher was better than Bob Gibson.
This is one of the toughest, most formidable, most intimidating pitchers ever to take the mound, and never more so than in 1968.
That's number 10 for Gibson.
I really was in a zone. I felt when I went out on the mound that I could throw the ball anywhere that I wanted to, and I did pretty much the whole season.
Gibson went 22-9 with a 1.12 ERA and 13 shutouts, earning Cy Young and MVP honors in what is still regarded as one of the most brilliant pitching seasons of all time.
Got him.
And in Gibson's greatest season, he saved his paramount performance for Game 1 of the 1968 Fall Classic.
He strikes out 17 Tigers in one of the most intimidating performances you'll ever see.
He got him! Struck him out! Once again, a standing ovation. A new World Series record.
Bob, you struck out 17, setting a new World Series record. That must be your most thrilling moment in sports. You've had many.
Well, I guess so. I didn't know what they were cheering about, and Tim came out in front of the plate, and I just turned around and looked at the scoreboard. I had no idea.
In Game 4, he notched his record 7th consecutive World Series victory. And though Gibson and the Cardinals would fall to the Tigers in 7 games, his Fall Classic records of 17 strikeouts in a game and 7 consecutive wins remain etched in baseball immortality. In 1974, Gibson became just the 2nd pitcher ever to notch 3,000 strikeouts. In 1981, he was elected to the Hall of Fame in his first year on the ballot. And in 1999, he was selected for the All-Century team.
He exemplified competitiveness and consistency and won 7 straight World Series games for the St. Louis Cardinals. Bob Gibson.
If I had one game to win, I'd take Gibson.
Bob Gibson was the toughest athlete I have ever seen.
One writer asked me, what did I want to be remembered as? And I thought about it, and I said that I want to be remembered as a person, a competitor that gave 100% every time I went out on the field. Sometimes I wasn't too good, but nobody could accuse me of cheating them out of what they paid to see.